You're welcome, stargazers. Do you believe it? Imagine a celestial event that is so big that it leaves shadows on Earth that can be seen during the day. That sounds like the show we might be about to see in the sky, Orion. Betelgeuse is behaving in a strange way, which could mean that a supernova explosion is about to happen, which will light up the sky like never before. What will it look like when Betelgeuse goes supernova? Scientists say that this star event could reveal some secrets. Come with us as we get into the specifics of what's going on with Betelgeuse and how it might affect Earth and maybe even the whole solar system. The star Betelgeuse is about 650 light-years away from Earth and is in the constellation Orion. It is not a normal star. It is a red supergiant, which means it is very bright, over 100,000 times brighter than our Sun. But why do we care so much about this red giant? Well, Betelgeuse stands out not only because it is very bright, but also because of its past and cultural importance. Being named after the Arabic phrase Yad al-Zawj, which means the hand of Orion, people have been observing and writing about Betelgeuse for thousands of years. People have used it as a landmark and been amazed by the stars because of its reddish color, which makes it stand out from other stars in the Orion sky. Imagine a single star being so big that it dwarfs the whole solar system. Just to give you an idea of how huge Betelgeuse is, if it were our Sun, its edges would reach all the way to Jupiter. How is it possible for a single star to get so big? It's only 10 million years old, which is a lot younger than our Sun, which is 5 billion years old. However, Betelgeuse's huge size means it burns through its materials much more quickly, which means it will not last as long as other stars. Now, this huge object in space, its volume is big enough to hold more than 1 billion suns, is getting close to the end of its life. When stars this big hit their twilight years, they don't just fade away. They go out with a bang. A supernova explosion with so much power and light that it's hard for humans to understand. This kind of event could be brighter than a whole galaxy, sending shadows of its brightness over very long distances in space. The last time Earth saw a supernova explosion this close was in 1964, a long time before binoculars were invented. Kepler's supernova was the last supernova that could be seen with the human eye in our Milky Way galaxy. It was visible for more than 18 months. It was brighter than all the other stars at night, and for a few weeks, you could even see it during the day. What secrets do these pieces of stars show us? Astronomers from many cultures, including China and Europe, wrote down in ancient accounts that this new star appeared. Surprisingly, we can still see the effects of this explosion today with very powerful telescopes. They look like a spreading cloud of debris, and they tell us about the violent ends of very large stars. In the past, supernovae have been hard to see from Earth. But imagine a star exploding so brightly that it looks like a full moon, making shadows on Earth at night and being visible during the day. The radiation from such an event would charge the atmosphere, which could have an effect on how satellites work and maybe even on the temperature. The way Betelgeuse dims and brightens in random ways makes me think it might be getting ready for a big show like this. Could we be about to see one of the most exciting things in the history of the universe? Astonishing news has just come from scientists. The amazing change that happened to Betelgeuse from October 2019 to early 2023 caught the attention of scientists and stargazers all over the world. It was called the Great Dimming. The star's light started to go down a lot after staying the same for hundreds of years. When comparing Betelgeuse to other stars in the constellation Orion, even people who don't usually look at the stars could see this quick change. This means that we might not even be hundreds of years away from seeing its supernova explosion, but maybe just a few decades. Astronomical readings in April 2023 showed that Betelgeuse's brightness had returned to normal, which led many people to think that the strange period was over. In an unexpected turn of events, Betelgeuse's brightness increased by an amazing 50% over the next few months. While these big changes are common in variable stars, they were not common in Betelgeuse, which had mostly shown regular cycles in its brightness. The sudden and intense rise in its brightness put the star back in the news and made people talk about what will happen to it next. But what caused this sudden change and how bright it was? Why did Betelgeuse, which is one of the most well-known stars at night, throw us a surprise in the sky? Stars are more than just blinking dots in the sky at night. They are living things with their own cycles, activities, and secrets. For many celestial bodies, changes in light can be planned for, similar to how the seasons change on Earth. Betelgeuse has had a pretty steady 400-day run of brightness over the course of its stellar lifetime. But during the Great Dimming, it seemed to go against what it normally did, making it harder for us to understand what was going on in the sky. You may be thinking if we are about to have a great revelation. The exact reasons for Betelgeuse's strange behavior are still being looked into, but a strong idea has emerged. This idea, which is based on stellar activity and mass ejection, describes an interesting situation. Think of Betelgeuse as a huge volcano in space that suddenly erupts and sends a huge amount of its matter into space. Observations made in the past by the Hubble Space Telescope showed that Betelgeuse had thrown off a huge amount of its surface material into space. This huge event, the discharge, was 400 billion times the mass that is usually released during similar solar events. That's a few times the mass of our moon. These kinds of events can cause a dense cloud of dust to build around the star, which can change how bright it seems and make it harder to see for a short time. The veil then came off as the dust started to spread out or was pushed away by the star's radiation press. This might help explain why it went back to normal light levels afterward. In any case, these recent events point to a star who is still able to surprise us. A lot of people think that Betelgeuse might be nearing the end of its life, which is called a supernova event. A supernova is a huge explosion of energy that can briefly shine brighter than a whole galaxy. When there is a quick change in the star's core, this happens. These kinds of changes can happen when a star takes in too much matter from a nearby star, or in the case of Betelgeuse, when its nuclear fuel runs out, sending its mass into the core and setting the stage for a huge explosion. But what makes a huge star like Betelgeuse end its life? Starting out as the gravitational fall of gas and molecular clouds, stars like Betelgeuse burn hydrogen in their cores to get going. This first stage, called the main sequence stage, lasts for millions of years and is the most important part of a star's life. But when stars run out of hydrogen, they change and adapt to find new energy sources. Around Betelgeuse, as the hydrogen runs out, it starts to burn helium, which makes carbon and oxygen. The star's growth into a red giant marks the change from the main sequence phase to the helium-burning phase. Over time, as the star's helium stores run out, it expands even more and goes through different burning phases, each one marked by the fusion of heavier elements. Because of the huge gravity pulls at play, these changes happen faster as the star gets bigger. Then the big moment comes. Iron starts to form at the center. When iron and other heavier elements are joined together, they don't release energy. This means that the energy they create isn't enough to fight the star's crushing gravity. The star gets bigger and explodes in a supernova. This is followed by a huge return effect that makes the explosion. So, is Betelgeuse about to blow up, or is it just being patient? Tohoku University in Japan has recently done study that makes it look like the star might be in the carbon-burning phase right now. Hyuko, the lead expert, thinks that the core could fall apart after its carbon reserves run out in a few decades. But not all experts agree. Different studies from Hungary's Konkoly Observatory suggest that Betelgeuse may still be in the early stages of burning helium. Even with all of these disagreements, experts agree on one thing. Betelgeuse will become the next supernova in the Milky Way. But figuring out when this event will happen is still a cosmic guessing game, with bets running from a few decades to a million years. Even though scientists disagree and guess about what happened to Betelgeuse, one thing is certain: the way we can see it. There's a subtle truth that we often miss when we look up at the vast sky full of stars. This paradox comes from the way time and light work in our very large universe. The light from stars and other celestial things is so far away that it takes a very long time to reach our eyes. To give you an example, the speed of light is 186,282 miles per second, but it can only go so fast. This means that light from faraway galaxies and stars takes a very long time to travel through space and reach Earth. When you look at Betelgeuse, you're really seeing something that happened 650 years ago. That's a lot of light coming towards Earth. At the time, the Renaissance was just starting, and travelers like Marco Polo were making their way around the world. They left their mark on history. When we look at Betelgeuse, it's like looking through a cosmic time capsule that tells us about its long history. And just for fun, let's say Betelgeuse had already exploded in a beautiful supernova. we would not know about it for another 650 years. So, while we talk about and guess when its supernova will happen, this huge event may already have happened somewhere in the vast universe. We're just waiting for it to travel through time and space and get to our excited telescopes. A lot of people in the astronomy community are talking a lot about the new information about Betelgeuse. They are comparing it to another big find from earlier this year called SN 2023X. Many people were reminded of how interesting and random the universe is by a supernova that was recently seen in a galaxy close to the Milky Way. SN 2023X was a one-of-a-kind star system located millions of light-years away. Its display of brightness was so bright that it briefly outshines its home galaxy. But what experts and regular people found most interesting about it was how much it looked like what many people think will happen to Betelgeuse. The spectrum strength and afterglow of the explosion gave us a tantalizing look into the changes that these huge stars go through as their lives come to an end. SN 2023X was seen by many as a sneak peek at what will happen if and when Betelgeuse explodes. The events may have happened in a way that looks like what was seen with SN 2023X. The link between these two celestial events also brings out a larger point about how everything in the universe is linked. Whether it's a nearby star like Betelgeuse or a supernova far away like SN 2023X, these celestial events show us how space is always changing and growing. Aside from the obvious and scientific effects, the blast would have huge cultural impacts. The sky would change after being looked at and respected for thousands of years. This change would make people think about how things change, how big cosmic time is, and where we fit in the world. These cosmic wonders remind us of how short life is and how we will always be trying to understand the great beyond. Glad you watched this space theory show. You won't believe the movie you're seeing, so don't miss it.